Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Con Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Con Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! It is time for Firewatch. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's great to be back. Welcome to the show. We have a pretty cool show put together for you, like we always do around this time. But before we get started, let's get all the logistics out of the way. This show is brought to you by Primerica. Hey, have you put a plan in place that will help you get out of debt, pay all your debt strategically, as well as give you some breathing room so that way you can also save up for your future? Well, the folks at Primerica can help you do that at no commitment. It's just free service. Give them a call. Right there, it's on the show bio. I think it's a great thing for you to be open, because at the end of the day, it's never too late to start saving and put something together for you in the future and the well-being of your family. So it's right there on the show bio. The link. Fill out. Get it. Take 30 minutes of your time. Go through the meeting and see what is they can help you out. In addition to that, the show is also brought to you by Castle Global Services. At Castle Global Services, they have an array of really cool services, both for your home and your business as well. One of the products that they have is that, while some of you are taking in credit cards, especially on your business, you know that if you're using, products like, the one that's kind of squarish like, and you can buy it at a drugstore or whatever. I mean, you're paying your interest rate on those credit cards are 2.75 and above, higher than that. Whereas through Sphere, so if you go to castleglobalservices.acnibo.com, click on the services tab, and on the commercial, look at the product Sphere right there. They have some really competitive rates for if you're a business owner and you want some better rates paying for your credit card, then go ahead and check them out, because at worst case scenario, they have a special right now where if they can't beat the rates that you're paying right now, they'll give you a $250 card for Amazon or movies or whatever it is. So if anything, you'll get something out of it just by again, no commitment, free look. So go ahead and check them out. In addition to that, this show is also brought to you by the Great American Constitution. Look, bottom line is, I fought for and I defended this great nation of ours for 21 plus years, and going out there and in somewhere else's man's land, defending this great Constitution. So bottom line is, if you like what you hear, stick around. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow, and let everybody else know about our show and the great thing and the great gouge that we provide. Or if not, then perhaps support your local podcaster. Some from our organization, SitchRadio.com. There's I Podcast That, the Todd DeBow Show, many. Or if you want to have your own show, give Brian Colburn a shout out, and he'll get you going. And because bottom line is, podcasting is the other form, another great form of media to get your word out there. So, and we also support the freedom of speech, and as well as the right to bear arms. All right, I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, this show. So I guess you could say I'm a little out of it. This show is also brought to you by the VA. So here's a message from them.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you were exposed to toxic substances while serving in the military, a new law called the PACT Act may make you eligible for additional benefits and care. The PACT Act benefits veterans of the Vietnam era, Gulf War era, and post-9/11 era who were exposed to toxic fumes, burn pits, Agent Orange, radiation, and other environmental hazards. Survivors of toxic exposed veterans and veterans who served in specific countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Southwest Asia are also potentially eligible. Learn more about the PACT Act by going to va.gov/PACT or by calling 1-800-MY-VA-411. We at VA are here for you, and we're ready to get you the care and benefits you've earned and deserve. I'm Mike Richmond.
Hey, you got Firewatch. Wake up. You got Firewatch.
Oh my God. What will trigger anybody to lose their shit? What set of words will trigger anybody to lose their shit in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere? That right there. Hey, just before we get started with our show, a couple of things. I just want if you're not plugged in on the VA's distribution list or emails, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Also, the PAC Act, to submit a claim, you had until August 14th. However, they've extended that window, I think, to the end of the month. So what does that mean? Is that if you're in that window time frame, whether you serve in OIF, OEF, the Horn of Africa, and all those other areas where they had burn pits, through the burn pit registry, and you also qualify from Vietnam as well as Desert Shield, Desert Storm. If you qualify, you're doing a huge. If you haven't put in a claim yet, you're doing a huge disservice to yourself and to your family. Because while you may not have anything going on wrong with you right now, you will later on in life. Trust me on that. As a veteran myself, I'm going through some issues, and that have to get seen, and you want that to be covered and get compensated for it. And the floodgates are open. A lot of people are getting their 100% permanent total, so on and so forth. So go on ebenefits.org, then go to vaclaims.org and submit your claim. At least put a form in and get the clock ticking. If you need help with that, hit us up on the show. Yes, I'm kind of over elaborating on this. I'm really passionate about this, because the bottom line is, the last thing I want to hear is for a veteran is that, I never put in for my benefits or blah, 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 or whatever. So please, 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 now is the time to do it. Okay. And last but not least, there's a bunch of scams going on. Look, and with this VA claims and disabilities, if you have to pay somebody to help you with your claim, that's fucked up. You should not have to pay out of pocket to anybody, even if they claim to be veterans and shit. You should not have to pay for this. There's the VFW, Veterans of Foreign War, Disabled American Veterans, DAV, American Legion. Even the VA will help put a claim. And if you go to your county and city office, there's people hired by the VA, VSO, Veteran Service Officer, that will help you put a claim together for free. Don't pay for that shit. Because these organizations will scam you out of your pay for 3 to 4 months. Anyways, I know I kind of went over on that, but fuck it. It's my show. I can say whatever the fuck I want. Anyways, yes. So going back to, as service members, or whether we're still in or transitioned out. I mean, let's face it. We got a pretty dark sense of humor. I think it helps us cope with, especially in difficult times. I know when I was in Iraq and in other places. I'm going to take off my glasses. There's a glare from my light to offset this one. Kind of gets on them, but humor can get you through pretty much. Let's agree on that. I think humor can get us through a lot of dark times and shitty situations. I know it did, and I know it did for me. And sometimes I even think about the times where I can remember that we're pretty much in the middle of nowhere and some really shitty place, and somebody would just say some really off-color, just really dark thing, and you just kind of like start laughing, like, oh shit, yeah. And that for that glimpse moment, it made it all that better. You know what I'm saying? And then there were also times where I think after the loss of somebody or whatever else, I think a little bit of humor kind of lightens the situation to help us cope with it. Now, I'm not saying it's the most it's the right thing or it's the wrong thing. It's just it helps us get through those really really shitty times. And you know, sometimes I really miss, and I really miss things like that. And that's why I think we tend to gravitate towards one another, regardless of what service that we were in, because we get one another. You know what I'm saying? In other words, um, whether and I think the age gap doesn't really matter, because it could be somebody from Vietnam time or whatever. After you get to talk to this individual, it's like, wow, this dude gets me, or we get each other, so to speak. I use a really good example. I had gone to back in April. I had gone to Atlanta. Was it Atlanta or Georgia? One of those two. Anyways, it was an event to an organization that I'm passionate about. Anyways, and I got to meet one of the founders of this organization, and I found out that while we were talking, uh, he's like, yeah, oh yeah, I was a lieutenant in the army during Vietnam. I was like, no shit. I'm in the Marine. I was in the Marine Corps for 21 years, and we just like that. As soon as we told him that it's like, the guy was really, really proper, really cool, proper, whatever, really down to earth and a very approachable. Dude's a freaking millionaire, right? Anyways, but as soon as they told me, yeah, I was in the Marine Corps for 21 years, and oh yeah, he's like, no shit, just like that, his demeanor changed, and I mean, we were just two dudes bullshitting, and I mean, this gentleman is well into his 70s, 80s, but just like that, it was just two service members just bullshitting. And I mean, F drops being dropped, and like, oh yeah, fucking A, and da da da, and just like that, common ground, and we're at it. And I mean, this dude, we talked for like a good 5-10 minutes. Whereas as I noticed, is that as he was doing it, because we were at his place actually, as I was kind of watching him before and after. He was very, very approachable guy again, but he would only spend a few minutes here and there, kind of working the floor. But I really appreciate the fact that, and I like to think that it was because we were both, we kind of walked somewhat in the same shoes, and even though we're in different conflicts as far as of our time of our times. We both got each other, so it was really cool to think like, man, I just spent this amount of time with this basically this dude who's a millionaire. I think probably the billionaire, if not that, with such a huge organization, and that dude just took the time to just bullshit with me a little bit. But again, it's times like that that really that really make me miss my time in the Marine Corps, and the amount of individuals that I met, and it makes me think sometimes of things like safety briefs or things like that. So I'm going to show you a quick video that I just want to give a huge thanks to Brian Colburn, not only is he the owner of Sitch Radio, but he's also the director for this fantastic show that you're listening to right now. But Brian, let's go ahead and roll. Can we roll the safety brief?
Memorial Day '96, right? We got PFCUs here. You're gonna remember that. I can promise you that. PFCUs decide to get off about noon, start ripping the bottle. So he gets in his lawn chair out in front of the barracks. Motherfucking lawn chair. Just drinking away. Pounding it. He drinks and he drinks till about 5 in the morning, and then he fucking falls out. A couple of buddies in the platoon wake him up probably about 8 in the morning, say, hey, we're gonna have a fun day at the beach. So he gets up, still probably pretty hammered, right? All right, so he gets up, they get out to the beach, he decides he wants to rent himself a Segway. Sitting on a motherfucking Segway. Drinking. Still killing it. Riding up and down the beach. Can we get a DUI on a Segway? Yes. Absolutely. All right. He's doing a little bit of off-roading in a Segway. Getting it a little bit. Still drinking. Pounding him away. Now he decides he wants to go fucking rent a jet ski. Go rent it. All right. So we had a rough night of drinking. We had lack of sleep. Now we're doing a lot more drinking. And now what's going on? Jet ski, right? What do we see? What could possibly go on here? Huh? Well, you can have probably a lot of fun, absolutely. But it can turn bad real quick. Hurry up, Huggies! So he changes over, he gets all ready, come out on his jet ski. No! Obviously, he's pulling out of the marina, there's no way to go, right? Still drinking. So he starts having a little fun, pulls out of the marina, starts getting it a little bit. Finishes up that 40, right? Oh, he's got to shut her down and go into the seat for another one. So now he's fucking held up. And he starts getting a little wild on his jet. Next thing you know, he hits a big wave, getting a little cocky, and he flies off. Now, and all that fun and drinking he was having, he obviously took his life vest off, and he didn't hook up his little safety cable, which does what? Stops the jet ski. The tether for the jet ski stops it. Their jet ski went cruising off. PFCU isn't that good of a swimmer, let alone drunk, and he fucking is left alone in the Atlantic to die. Watercraft safety. It's all right to be out there fucking drinking and have a good time, but you should be on somebody else's watercraft. You shouldn't be operating anything yourself. Hurrah!
Oh my God, that was that video gets better and better each and every time. Brian and I were chatting up earlier. I'm glad that I retired, and maybe every generation, every period time frame, people will say the same thing that I'm saying or have said the same thing. But I think I'm very glad I got out when I did. I don't know if I could be in the time frames. Those of you who who are civilians on the show, if you're not familiar with how things have changed, but in today's day and age, everybody gets fucking offended just by the dumbest thing ever. We have things like pronouns. People now put, "Hey, my pronouns are this shit," in that time. But I'm very glad to know that, and I guess proud to have served in a time frame where nobody really gave a shit what you were, that type of stuff. Yes, I was on a time where there was the don't ask, don't tell policy. Then later on, towards the end of my time, it was revoked, which is fine. To each its own, whatever. However, I am proud and glad to have served in a time frame where nobody really gave a shit. To be quite honest, safety briefs like this were pretty. By far, this one takes the cake. But speeches like that of "Don't go out in town. Careful what you do out in town. You're gonna go out there and bang. Susie Rotten Crotch and Jody. Make sure you wear a con. If you're gonna bang somebody. Yes. First Sergeant would say shit like this. If you go out there and get your stick wet, make sure you put on a condom. And protect yourself. Ladies, you too, you're gonna, because that guy that you just met at the bar, he might not be the cleanest, motherfucker. That type of stuff. Yeah, don't add to the population, and bring in your nasty kids into this world. Things like that were dropped onto us. And it made fucking sense. It made sense. And I think the older I got, it was like, yeah, holy shit. I'm glad that people broke it down to us like that. Fuck. To be honest, I had people, I went to boot camp with motherfuckers that never, that their boots, and this is pretty common with some people, that those pair of boots that they wore were the first pair of brand new shoes that they ever wore, because they came from big families that had very little money, in other places of America, in the US, and there were hand-me-downs and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not making this shit up, and probably still happens today. Hell, my roommate Caesar Sterling, he was and he's been on the show. I mean, the dude spoke very little. He was from the island Puerto Rico, yes, and though it's a Providence, I mean, my dude barely spoke English, because our shop chief, when we first got to our first unit, staff sergeant Gunny Serrano, that guy was we shared the same drill instructor. He went the year before, or a year before I did, and then he went through with staff sergeant Serrano. And anyways, Caesar spoke very little, didn't know that much English. So, and some people or some people just have never seen fucking ocean. I had not seen snow for real until I became a warrant officer. I mean that's yes, and I lived in California, but I never had the pleasure of being stuck in the snow and all its shitty glory until I went through OCS. So it just comes to show that how big this world can be, and yet how small it is. But things like this, where people talk to you and were real to you, in a way where they basically talk to you, not at you, but they broke it down to you. Hey, don't go out there and part of the color of it. Don't go out there and stick your dick where it doesn't belong, and and all this other shit, right? And it made sense. God forbid, I don't know when I really hope that this was, not that long ago, this video, because kudos to that staff time. It was fucking hilarious, but it makes sense. I could tell you this, those Marines, and by the way, I know exactly where the fuck they're at. That is Camp Wilson, 29 Palms, 100% guaranteed. They're right there at some shitty field exercise, either Steel Knight, Colonel Glitz. No, not Steel Knight, because on Steel Knight, Cannon Cockers, shout out to 11th Marines. You fuckers go out to the field and you guys stay out there. It doesn't matter. They'll work. It doesn't matter what weekend it was. You're out there stuck until you get back. But they're going on a 96, and this safety brief makes sense. I mean, I can guarantee that those Marines are not gonna forget this safety brief ever in their lives. Yes, because of how colorful, how colorful and how raunchy it was. And shout out to that Marine who wore that fucking bathing suit. But it's gonna be engraved in their minds. And while they're about to do some dumb shit out in town for the weekend, they're gonna remember, like, oh hey, I remember Staff Time talked about this, and don't do anything dumb, and so on and so forth. And I could tell you, when I was in as a young Marine, I remember the safety briefs from Master Sergeant Cervantes. Goddamn, in Master Gun, First Sergeant Cook. Man, he and by the way, and I knew Mr. Cook. He was my gunny, my platoon gunny on my first unit, and then years later, he was my first sergeant at another unit when I got out and I came back in. But guys like that, you'll never forget. One, because how politically incorrect they were, but how they can make when they talk, they can relate to you and put it in a way where you will remember that shit. And yeah, you may, man, some of the stuff that they would say was hilarious. And even when they were chewing your ass, you had to, try to keep composure of how to, not to laugh. But because, I mean, again, the stuff that they would just say was just that raunchy and funny. But you never forgot it. And then later on, years later, I mean, I wasn't as quick on my feet or could say things. I don't think I was as funny or colorful as they could be, but I found myself giving my own safety briefs, not only as a staff NCO, as a staff sergeant, and then later on as an officer, myself, but relaying myself to these young Marines and trying to make an impact. Because the bottom line is, we were all just trying to keep them safe, especially when we're young. I made some really dumb, I made some really stupid decisions, which thank God I never got, I never got caught for them. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, we all do dumb shit when we're young, and also I was also somewhat savvy and smart enough, and I had good staff NCOs like now Mad Max Gunner, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Gilman, who's been on my show, who was my staff sergeant as well before he became an officer. Guys like First Sergeant Cook, Master Sergeant Cervantes, Sergeant Luna. So these are all guys that I served with in my community, who, when I was in my younger days, these guys took care of us and ensured that not only that we didn't get fucked with, through pen, but they also ensured that we progressed through our ranks and such, and accordingly, I mean, that's all it is. So yes, political incorrectness. I mean, we ate that shit for breakfast. It didn't matter, back in those days. And you may disagree with it. I mean, there was his, he was Mexican, I'm Colombian, Puerto Rican, black, Asian, Chinese. It didn't matter. I mean, we all bled green. So, and that's the main thing. I mean, we all took care of one another. There were, there wasn't, some of the stuff that's going on right now, and and change happened as well. Change is going to happen, and changes with the times. However, I don't, I may not agree with some of the things going on right now with the service. You got individuals too who are publicly voicing their opinion as to what is wrong and where. Because the bottom line is that when it all comes down to it, folks, whatever branch you joined, whatever calling, or whatever it is inside your heart and your soul that made you raise your right hand and say, "Hey, I'm pretty much giving, I'm giving a blank check with my life, that in the event that shit goes wrong here in America, or I have to go enforce, or in the name of freedom, go somewhere else and pay with my life with this blank check." Whatever it is that made you join, at the end of the day, I mean, that's all that matters. And so we should not be the military. It is not the military's job to politicize itself, to conform itself to whatever current trends and bullshit going on with the times. That is, we'll leave that stuff for the politicians, but keep the military out of it, because at the end of the day, we still need to present ourselves as a strong military, especially for our enemies, because you can say, yeah, technology, and we've come a long way. However, people still want to do harm to us, and we don't want to present ourselves as weak little bitches. Is the bottom line. We need to remain strong and show a strong front, so that way, when push comes to shove and America's got to go break its foot in somebody else's ass, that we can do that, instead of saying, "Oh no, man, these guys are a bunch of pussies. They were, just look at them." And if you don't believe me, I mean, pop on YouTube, social media, and then, I mean, some of our service members are just doing some really dumb shit out there that just makes me question where is that we're going. What kind of leaders have we raised through the ranks along the way, and why are we even allowing it to get this way? Just some shit for you folks to think about. All right. So, but it's good to be back. Last week I was somewhat out of it. I got a really bad cold, and I wasn't about to, just pop on the show and just look like death warmed over me. So, it was a good break. It's good to be back, and it's good to re-engage with you folks. So, but pretty much that's it for today. Before I get out of here, I just want to touch up bases again. Take advantage of the VA. Start your claim. Start the clock. So at least you have a year to submit your supporting documents and on and so forth. If you need help or you got questions, please feel free to shoot me a DM through Facebook or YouTube, and I'll get back to you. And last but not least, if you've been struggling with any ruminating thoughts, just life is trying to get at you, and you're just going into that dark hole, don't forget that you do have resources like TRICARE, Military One Source, the VA, Suicide Hotline, and us. Reach out to the show, because while we may be doing push-ups and all these other social media challenges out there, it doesn't bring your life back. So, and it leaves us wondering with what the fuck we have done to help you out. So that's it for today. We're gonna go ahead and end next. So see you next week. Hoorah! Get some daisuki, ice the mask. I'll see you next time, folks. Adios, motherfuckers. Yut!